Buy, hold, sell, NRL Fantasy Round 5, and we've got a headliner this week, Biz. We have Brendan Piakura. A couple of weeks after becoming the show mascot, named to start. Does this feel like a good sign?
Mate, as soon as I saw that hit on Herbie Farnworth, I knew better days were coming, and I knew it was the making of a new legend. Is he going to be at the top of our cash cows list? I don't know about that, but exciting times as a Piakura fan.
Yeah, mate, look, he's got a 2-week window in the team. Still relatively high break even, so we can wait and see. Watch him put up a glamorous performance this week, jump on next week. I think a pretty straight swap there for Gus Crichton. They're about the same level of quality. But for anyone who heard that and didn't understand the joke, Piakura is the show mascot. I don't actually think he's equal to Gus Crichton, but Piakura will end the year on a 40 average somehow, some way. Now let's get into this. So we're starting with cheapies today, because I think this is the week of the cheapie. And we'll go through buys as normal, but the cheapies are shaping up really well. I think it's okay if you want to go for 2 cheapies this week and bank some cash. It's what I'm probably doing. Now, first one here is Tommy Jenkins, 297K, playing at the wing fullback spot. He is starting at center for Penrith. And the fact that Brian To'o is now out for 4 weeks pretty much shores up his role there. So he'll play at center. That means that Casey McLean sits on the wing. At that price, outside of Cleary, against the Cowboys this week who have leaked some points, I think this guy's a surefire option. And his reserve grade stats weren't anything to write home about, a 33 average historically. But the start this year, he started hot, came in at fullback. They rushed him in, like you said a couple of weeks ago, and he's proving to be that guy. So I got him last week, and I can highly recommend Jenkins to you guys this week on the back of that mid-50s score.
Yeah, low break even, passed the eye test, like one of the best in I would say, not badly beaten team, but pretty comprehensively beaten team, and a very lucrative center position for Penrith with Cleary back. Centers are for, the Cowboys, Vilea, Purdue, like no matter which side you're lined up on, it should be a pretty lucrative matchup, and he could be 340, 350K next week. So if you're going to get him, it has to be now. I will say the caveat to this kind of scoring profile historically, when he's played wing for Penrith, he kind of scores 2 tries a game and he averages like 50 odd. But other than that, he's kind of like a 20s, 30s guy in reserve grade. But I will say he's played 2 reserve grade games this year at center. In one game, he had 4 try assists, 3 line breaks or something. The other one, he's had a couple of tries. I think it's 66 average out of 2 games. So he's not old. He's 24, I believe. And he's kind of could be the breakout year. And I've learned this year that you just got to kind of follow the run of scores sometimes. So I think Jenkins will come into my team. I don't know if I'll pair him up with another one of these guys, but Kartoga, he's on everyone's list now. And we broke him in the preseason as a potential starter. Started off the bench, now playing 80 minutes. Longy, I'll let you go with thoughts on him, and I'll back it up with some analysis that I did based on his cup stats.
Yeah, so I'll let you cover those cup stats then. But in terms of the game played, the reason I went Jenkins over Kautonga was I just thought Jenkins had a better opportunity of showing out in his game. Well, South Sydney might have been a softer matchup than Manly. I'll tell you what, though, Kautonga wasn't exposed much in defense. So he had a pretty good defensive tackle rate in that game. Only had 2 missed tackles. Looked relatively solid. Didn't get much of the ball early, but ended on 73 run meters. So overall with Kautonga, I sort of look at him and go, that was a pretty solid performance for basically a rookie here. I'm keen as a Para fan to see more of him. And I think if I was coach of Para, I'd leave him in the team. So to me, that's a good sign. You then have Sean Lane on the other edge that's playing some pretty rough footy right now, like not playing at the level that he's capable of. So if one of them was going to get dropped, I would say it would be Sean Lane back to the bench to play that prop role. So I think Kautonga has good job security. He's a back rower. You can run him at center. Pumped out a mid-40s score at 320K. Could be a potential, probably not quite a keeper, but a guy that you do hold for quite a long period of time in that center spot next to Rob Toya. So 2 really cheap guys that you can start there, and the upside there is massive.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I think the other thing is on the negatives, though. I'll talk about his negative side. So 320K, so he's no longer at that kind of 250 price mark that he started with, obviously. Still got a low break even, which is great. The problem is Eels do have a lot of edge back rowers. Now, Cardi and Madison have clearly lost favor. So don't really see them coming back soon. It would be a pretty big backflip from the coaching staff to include them after holding out so long. Kelma Tuolangi was their marquee kind of re-signing, just sad to say, and was the number one edge back row all preseason. Pretty much got dropped after 13 minutes. Kelma, I would say, defensively much shakier than Kartonga. So Kartonga, I'd say, yeah, he didn't miss many tackles on the weekend, but however, I did notice he plants his feet a bit early and commits, and he kind of left Dean Hawkins to fend for himself quite a few times. So that's one observation. But he did play 80 minutes, and he is a damaging ball runner. He doesn't run the ball much. Like his work rate is extremely poor in offense, but great signs when he does run the ball. Like he runs it hard and he looks for an offload. Cup stats, though, here's where it gets shaky. His cup PPM, I took like an 8-game sample, and his PPM was about 0.3. So even in 80 minutes, it wasn't great. He is a guy that can kind of, if the ball's not heading in his side, he can only make 20 tackles, miss a few, doesn't run the ball much, like we just said. And he had some performances, kind of Jack Kazevsky style, where it was like 12, 13 points in 80 minutes. So that's why I was kind of not sold on him. But I think with that dual position, job security relatively solid, and 2 back-to-back decent scores, I think he's a good option this week.
Yeah, you can't ignore it. You can't ignore it. The translation to first grade's been really good, but I do agree with you. Those cup stats weren't impressive. Try scoring rate in cup was really good though. So I sort of look at that and I go, you know what? Maybe when Moses comes back, he might unlock a bit more of that. He's also got an offload, as we've seen. He had a few errors sort of going for offloads. So yeah, I think he's a surefire option, and I'm definitely bringing him in this week. Riley Smith, he's one that I'm looking at very closely this week as well. Got named to start. Dylan Walker on the bench. He's already in your team, Biz, so I'll let you cover this guy.
Yeah, I like the look of Riley Smith in preseason. I think it was an Owen Paddy situation, but with less established hookers in front of him. Now, I'm not saying Starling and Levi are Cameron Smith and Harry Grant, but they have legitimate first grade experience where they've proven they can handle first grade, whereas neither of Brendan Hands or Joey Lussick have looked like first graders in their not short careers for Lussick, but at least Hands, he hasn't played that long. But in this case, I would say Riley Smith is the next generation for Parramatta at 9. He's been the best hooker by far all year, preseason and first 4 weeks. Every time he gets on the field, something happens. And his PPM at cup level, now he only played a couple of games of cup, and he played about 25 games in each. But I looked at the numbers, and his PPM was about 0.9. Now, that's not translating to NRL, mostly because Eels are just standing under the posts or ridiculously poor in attack most of the time. But I think the way I see this is he's starting hooker. They're going to give him 55 minutes at least. And people might be thinking, oh, he's a rookie. Will he get 55 minutes straight away? He did play 55 minutes in the first 2 games. And then Lussick came into the side and he played about 35 minutes. So I think he goes back to 55, 60 minutes. Dylan Walker is that 14, but he hasn't really played that much hooker recently. So can you see a world where he plays 80 minutes? Like maybe Longy, I'll throw to you in a second to give your thoughts on whether he could play 80 minutes. But priced at 283K, I think he's a no-brainer. Like the job security is good. Like Lussick's not the future. He's gone after this year. Hands has had opportunities, hasn't held them. Riley has outplayed him. I think I would take Riley Smith over Jenkins and Kautonga myself personally.
Yeah, I'll hit with a few things. So as soon as I saw his name to start, I swapped my trade from Dylan Egan to Riley Smith. I'm already buying Kautonga and already have Jenkins. So they're kind of the 3. I'm probably targeting Kautonga over Riley Smith just because of the positional benefit of getting a center. So my team's a bit light at center, but Riley Smith probably outscores Kautonga most weeks. In terms of him, I'll say a few things here. When he came on in the game on the weekend, he drew a penalty off a dummy half run immediately, right? And that was a run where he was sort of looking like busting a few tackles as well. So it might have been a better run if he didn't draw the penalty. So he looked good there, and he sort of had some nice scoots. And I have said a few times in the early games, he's opened up some half breaks, and no one's been running support at Parramatta. But he may have had a few try assists as well if the forwards were sort of trucking it up behind him. The fact that he gets a start now means he gets the fresh forwards and he gets to play with the big dogs in the starting team. So he has a big opportunity for him here. With Dylan Walker too, there's no guarantee at all that Dylan Walker plays hooker. Like I'm personally sort of setting his over-unders in terms of minutes at about 65. I really reckon Riley Smith has a good chance of playing sort of 60, 65 minutes. I think there are going to be games where he plays 80 minutes because you look at that bench there. You know, Tuivasa, you've got what else you've got there?
Luca
Dan Kerr
Moretti.
and
Yeah,
Moretti.
Dan
Yeah.
Kerr.
So
Yeah.
these aren't guys who have played big minutes in first grade. So Dylan Walker, I would expect to play some lock coming off the bench. I expect Hopgood to play a bit of prop as well. But I don't think that Dylan Walker is going to play 40 minutes of hooker. So the risk here is basically nothing. 283K. A lot of teams don't have a second hooker as well. Maybe they're running Connor Watson. They need him in the middle spot. So yeah, Riley Smith's a red hot option. I'm a big fan of this one. And then Dylan Egan's the other one. I know you're considering him. So I'm going to throw a few things out there. He pumped out some big numbers last week. Randomly played like 50 minutes in that game. Played more minutes than Couchman, which is just kind of ridiculous. But he was on our list last week at 230K. He's still here at 260K. Hamish Stewart was cleared, so he is playing. But we do see Emre Gula leave the equation here, and he's out for 3 weeks with suspension. Blake Laurie comes back in. You'd assume that opens up a couple of minutes there at least for Egan. But for him, the big thing that impressed me was the eye test. So watching him play in that game, he was tearing through the Storm team. He's breaking tackles, just looking tough to tackle. Big defensive work rate there as well, and that translated across from New South Wales Cup. I just think with this guy, the opportunity is murky, but the talent is definitely there. They rate him, and both of these guys have sort of moved up through the ranks. So they both moved up through Ron Massey Cup, New South Wales Cup to first grade quite quickly, Riley Smith and Dylan Egan, which makes me think that both of them are pretty hyped and they're going to get that opportunity. And if they can really grab a hold of it and play well, they'll lock into more and more minutes. So I think really all four of these options here are fantastic options. That's why I put this first, because if you want to use two trades this week, grabbing two of this four is an awesome option to take.
Yeah, I think that's you could. Yeah, I would happily use two of my trades on these four. I would have Egan. Like my personal order would be Riley Smith, Jenkins, Kartonga, Egan. I think Egan, you can definitely wait one more week because he's not that expensive yet, and he doesn't. The thing is, I looked at his stats, and he used to play edge, but he did play lock in his cup game this year. They've rushed him back after one game in cup. I think that he might have been there week one if he was fit. Now, he scored about 65 points with a try and 80 minutes at lock. So has a motor. Out of that 65, 49 points was like just base stats, like tackles and run beatings, like solely it. So that's about a 0.61 ppm based on base stats alone, just like ignoring every other stat, which he could be very capable of. He looks a strong runner. 0.61 probably needs 50 minutes to be worth the trade. So I'm happy to see how it shakes out. Does he get 45, 50 minutes, or is it kind of 35, 40? And if he's getting 45, 50, then he's still worth it next week. And if it's 35, 40, then I think there'll be performances where in stop-start play, because last week was a bit of a monsoon grindy game versus the Storm. So points were really on offer there. So I'm waiting a week on Egan, whereas I think the other three are more urgent. I think Jenkins and Kartonga and Riley Smith all have low break evens this week. So does Egan, but they're kind of going to go over the 300K mark soon. So that's my take on the four.
The one thing I will say with your rankings there is because you got Riley Smith number one, Jenkins number two. A lot of teams need that backup edge.
Yeah.
So I think if I look at most teams, I think they have to take one of Kautonga or Egan, right? Because they don't have that backup edge. And, we've got the Warriors, Dogs, Cowboys, next three buys. So Dogs next week, right? If they've got Preston in their starting side and they've only got two edges, they're putting themselves in a really tough situation. So
yeah,
I would say one of those two guys you have to get. But yeah, Kautonga's ahead for me as well. More for that center eligibility. But as a pure scorer, I reckon Egan might outscore Kautonga. It's hard to read in this Dragons forward pack. One thing that's encouraging is Tom Eisenhuth is no longer on the extended bench. So I think I don't know if he's injured or he's just out of the equation, but he was the one I was worried about. But with him out of the picture, it's Fatal Mariner sort of sitting there, and I'm like, I don't think they're that keen on Fatal Mariner and bringing him in. So I think Egan's got pretty good job security.
I would say that the scoring potential of these four players is very murky because Jenkins and Kautonga historically have not scored well. Riley Smith has like very little historical track record, and Egan, the minutes are the question for points. But I definitely think all four are good options, and 100% agree with you, Longy. Like I was just kind of ranking them, just ignoring your team composition,
Yep.
but like feel comfortable in bringing in the one that fits your squad composition the most, even if it's completely flip order of what I said. Like if you have Egan and Kaltonga as your two picks because you don't have centers or edges, like that's totally fine.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. It's all positional there. And that's part of why I got Jenkins last week too. I needed doing fullback, and he's a starter for me now because I sold Yongi. And cleared out that wing fullback room for myself. Last one here is Hiroti. And look, Moeni Hiroti, he's here. He's 350K. We don't know how long Kale Iro is out for. But if Iro's got a hamstring issue and he's out for 6+ weeks or whatever it is, then Moeni might be someone that we can look at targeting. The comparison for him is very much Shibasaki at the Broncos. And the reason I say that is starting price around that 300K mark. Shibasaki was 300, already he's 350. But starting price around there, playing center in a very good team in a position that should score tries. So we've seen Iro scoring a bunch of tries. Potential attacking upside there for a guy who's historically averaged about 32 points, which they both have. So that's the upside there. But the downside is you're paying 350K for a guy when there are other options that are probably stronger scorers with better job security at 297K and 320K to plug into your backline as well. So not the guy for me, but just worth mentioning him. Probably worth mentioning Pia Kura as well, getting that starting spot, but a higher break even for Pia Kura. So I think you can afford to wait and see because Pia Kura is going to have to play well enough to keep a spot when Ricky comes back in 2 weeks. And he's going to have to outplay Jezewski pretty significantly over that 2 weeks to do that.
Yeah, I think Jack G has just been pretty solid on the field this year, and Madge clearly loves him. So I wouldn't worry about Pierre Croix this week. There's just too many other better options.
Yep, bang on. Now, the buys section, we got Cleary, Couchman, Campbell, Yo, and Walsh. And some of these are pretty straightforward. And then we'll get into the avoids, holds, sells, pods, all those sorts of things too. But for the buys here, I'll start with Cleary. This one's super straightforward. I saw something like 19% of teams or something insane like that sold Nathan Cleary last week. Just absolutely insane. I'm hoping that not a single viewer of this show did it, because if you did, I'm coming for you. I'm going to get you. No, but really, it was just, you don't do that. It's priced at 58. I will say he's got the Cowboys this week. Like, you could wait a week if you don't have him and see how he goes. But we know who Nathan Cleary is. We know his dominant role. He's the dominant playmaker. He's doing all the kicking. Cleary will finish the year on a strong average. And I recommend him as someone who will go 10+ points above where he's priced at, which is a 58. So Cleary's a great option this week. I'm going to throw to you, Biz, put you on the spot here. Cleary is captain. How much are you thinking about that?
A lot. I did the analysis yesterday.
Ooh, okay.
I look, Cleary, Panthers need a bounce back game. It's Yo's 250th game, like the most capped Panther or something. And I looked at the 4 halfbacks who scored against the Cows this year. I think Fogg had 55, Cherry Evans had 78. Who were the other two? Hines had 64. There was one more I'm missing that had a good score. I wrote it down somewhere. I want to pull it up right now. Actually, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. Like all the halfbacks have scored really well against the Cowboys. What was that last night? I'm like blanking on the last person now, but I think it was just like 70 average for the halfback against the Cows. All pretty good scorers like DC Fogg.
Reynolds.
Reynolds had like 85, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like it's like a 75 average of halfbacks against the Cows. They've got the 3rd most points conceded. Cleary, like a early head knock, he's had a long time to get over it. Like it's not a hammy, it's not like a recurring injury. It's just like a freak kind of. You saw like the kind of freak collision with Jerome Hughes. So he's a pod captain. Like no one's going to be captaining him this week. Like, everyone's going to be captaining Haas and May versus each other. Like that's not a bad idea either. Like neither of them have scored below 70 this year. I know Haas had 67, but just round that up to 70. So Cleary could be a guy who scores 100 this week, and you're one of less than 10% who have captained him. Like I'm really thinking about it. Is it the smart option? Probably not, because you know what you're getting from Haas and Terrell. Cleary hasn't shown it this year. In fact, he didn't really show it last year. Out of his 9 full games last year, only 4 scores over 65. So recent form isn't great fantasy-wise. But this is just remember, this is the best fantasy player of all time. still in his prime, in a team that really needs him to step up. They're 1-3. They're barely above Parramatta on the ladder. Yeah, I'm considering it. In fact, if I get clarity that he's definitely starting this week, like there's no kind of lingering effects of the HIA, I think I'll do it. Like, just, why not? Captaincy has been a bit of a roulette this year.
Big call, man. I respect the call. Personally, just to represent the other view, I'm leaning towards Haas. I'm hearing it's going to be pretty good conditions for that game, so the offload will be back out to play. The Tigers, as much as they've improved this year, aren't a defensive juggernaut. They came out against the Warriors last week and they conceded 26 points. I think Haas is going to beat them up a bit. So I personally reckon Haas is the go-to captain this round. I wouldn't go Terrell May against the Broncos just because the Broncos are so strong through the middle. I think they're going to lock him up a bit. And when I say lock him up, he'll score 70 in my head, right? So he'll still be good. But I just think Payne Haas has that 100-plus potential against Tigers where he could score a try and they'll get on top. So for me, it's Payne Haas, but I respect the Cleary call as well. It's one that makes a lot of sense and it's a massive pod. I've got Cleary ahead of Terrell May this week. Now, Toby Couchman up next, 606K, still at a relatively affordable price. I want to talk a bit about why he played less minutes last week and then get your view on whether he's still a buy here. Now, with Toby Couchman, he came on after about 20 minutes and he's done that before and played out the full game. So he did it earlier. I think it was around 2. He played 62 minutes. He's done that again here and come on at that same time frame. The issue was that they had Damien Cook go off and then Damien Cook came back on while Little was still on the field. And that strategy meant they were running 2 hookers, which they haven't done this year. And so Damien Cook took that sort of roaming middle forward spot that Kobe Couchman normally occupies. So that was the issue for him there. It meant they ran 2 hookers. It meant less minutes for him. He went off. He came back on, so he didn't stay off. But it did mean only about 44 minutes for him. Now, the issue here is that the double hooker combo has led to them winning the game with Jacob Little scoring a pivotal try. So from a real footy perspective, not looking at fantasy, not looking at promised minutes, anything like that, it won them the game to have him off the field and to run 2 hookers. So that's the downside there, that there is that risk that they run double hooker and he does lose minutes. The upside is that Emre Gula is now out of the team for 3 weeks. So Toby Couchman's been named to start. But again, to throw another downside at you, we've seen Laurie and Clemmer start over Couchman. And both of those guys are in the 17. So they may just run those 2 to start, have him come off the bench, and you're relying on him coming on and staying on for 60 minutes, which is a hard thing to do. So there's a bit of risk there, but I guess the upside is his PPM is fantastic. So even if he plays 45 minutes, he scores 48 points. So I think he's still a very solid option. And I would be picking him over Nafahu White very, very easily. But it's just a case of whether you think he's worth targeting at this price.
I think in another given week, yes. Look, there's not much more to add in terms of your analysis, except I did see one, I don't know, question if it's fake or not, but apparently one dude messaged Flanagan on Instagram asking what's his minutes, and that picture's doing the rounds, and Flanagan was like, we're going to taper him down to 50 quality over quantity as we go on. It could be total BS, like Photoshop. I don't know. I didn't look into it too much. But look, I think in any other given week, it could be interesting. But this week, we talked about the cashies. Like, I'd take any of those 4 cashies above Couchman this week. So, I think I'll happily let him slide. I looked at him heavily last week. I had him for a few days and reversed him. I did a stupid trade. I got one of the guys on our island last week, Suo Wong, but it paid off. This year, all the objectively questionable or dumb trades are working, and I'm going to do another one this week. I'll talk about it in pods, but look, if you want him, go get him.
Bang on. Yep, fair play. I'll throw Jaden Campbell to you then, because he's a guy who's in everyone in the Casual Cruise team.
Yeah, he's. I think every single person in the Casual Athlete here has Jaden Campbell. He's looking great. He's averaging mid-60s to start the year. He's taking all the kick meters. Well, not all the kick meters. Brinson still got 150 odd last week, but like 500 plus in the last 2 games. The one thing is he's averaging 65. He's had tries in the last 2 games. He did get bailed out by a 100-meter intercept try last week, but
that helps.
That helps. But I will say that he hasn't really run the ball yet too often. He's had like no offloads to hand, and he's like a really solid offloader as a halfback, and like barely any tackle breaks. Like, there's going to be a game where he has like 4 offloads, 6 tackle breaks, and I think he'll consistently score in the 65 pluses. I think he'll end the year at as the highest wing fullback, especially now we're seeing Trell is going to start the season at center. I don't think he'll end the year at center, but I think that'll skew his average down for a while. So I think Jaden Campbell, this is the cheapest he'll get unless he gets injured or sent off or something. So this is your chance to buy him. Like, get him in ASAP.
Yeah, that's why I included him in here because 755K, it's expensive, but he's only going up. Thing I'll mention here too is even with that try last week, his base without attacking stats is in that 40s area. So you've got a guy who's scoring sort of in the 40s there, plus attacking stats, who's capable of attacking stats.
Very capable.
Big time.
Yeah.
The other thing that encourages me is the Titans are winning games, right? They're winning, and they're winning well. They beat the Roosters at Allianz, which everyone thought was impossible. They beat the Knights the week before that, who have been in good form as well. So I don't know. I just look at them and think, you know what? They're going to keep on doing what they're doing here. Like, it's very secure that his role will stay like this, and it will just evolve in the amount of attack he takes. So with Jaden Campbell, rock solid option, best wing fullback in fantasy, like you said, should get past 800K at some point. Isaiah Yeo is in a similar boat, should get past 800K at some point. He's going in the wrong direction right now. I got on him last week, and I'll explain the rationale here. I looked at my team and just thought, you know what? I don't like it. I want to make up ranks this week. Like, I just want to grab some points, make up some ranks. I was sitting in 14,000th, which is just disgusting. Like, it's been a rough start. I went from 14,000 to 5,000 in 1 week on the back of making 2 trades that made me 70 points out of thin air. So trading Mazu, which I didn't want to sell, but I had to. Mazu and Yongi out, and I bought Jenkins and Yo in. Both of those guys killed it. I mean, I didn't have to start Purdue either. So look, I think a guy like Isaiah Yo, you can make up some big ranks by getting on the big guns early and just not fluffing around with Toby Couchman and those sorts of types of players. So if you get on Isaiah Yo, you're guaranteed, well, nearly guaranteed that 60-plus score. He's gone 3 60-plus games out of 4 this year. He's had that one shocker, but he's looking good. Pumped out 65 last week. Looked solid. Had his hands on the balls a lot. And I think he's going to grab some more attacking stats as we go along as well, because he's had some close ones. Like, watching him in that game, he definitely had some close ones. And the Cowboys have leaked some points so far, so we could see him crash over or set someone else up this week too. So with Isaiah Yo, 783K, it's absurdly cheap. You've got to make the move soon because he has the buy in round 11, probably Origin round 12. So he becomes a bit untenable through that Origin period. So you really need to give yourself a window of his scoring. And I think 783K is close to as cheap as he's going to get.
Yeah, and it's his 250th game this week, like I mentioned. So could have a big milestone game. He started in my side, and he's not going to leave it unless he gets hurt. So I think it's an easy one. Reece Walsh is a more interesting one. He has not shown it. Yeah, he has not shown it at all this year. But the guy is 22 in probably like the best attacking team in the competition right now. Arguable with like a couple other teams, maybe like Manly and the Knights and the Sharks. But look, Reece Walsh, the talent and the opportunity and the context is way too good. Like, this is going to be his leanest run. I still think he averages 50 plus at the end of the year. I truly do think that. It's just about timing him. Like, he's still got a high break even this week in the 60s, but he's got the Dolphins. Dolphins are not playing well. He's got the Tigers. Sorry, he's got the Tigers. Yeah, he just had the Dolphins. Right. Sorry. Yeah, Tigers. Look, they're a lot improved. But Reece Walsh, like, he's kind of like at times matchup proof. It's just like whether he's feeling it on the day or not. Like, this is.
I might just chime in. The Tigers are missing some guys too. No Jerome Luai. They're missing Skelton as well. They've got Dewey, who was pulled out for the groin injury last week. You know, Fainu went off with a knee injury as well. He's back this week, but there's some problems at the Tigers. And if it's a dry weather game, I agree with you. Walsh breakout is on here, but yeah, continue on.
Well, I was going to say, like, he's probably not in my team this week just because of the other options, but like, he's on my team next week. Like he's definitely. I don't care if he scores 30 again this week. I'm still getting him in even like in the near term. Like, I just think it's a very opportunistic buy. And there's other buys here. Like, you just got to time them. Like, this guy's 22 and his track record is like a 50 average fullback.
Yep.
And this is the best team he's probably played in. So, well, close to the best team. I know he's been, in good teams before, but like, this is looking like it could be the best
they're red
team
hot.
he's played in. Yeah, like, they look great. Like, all he has to do is like follow Haas or Carrigan up the middle, and they'll pop him on, and he's through the clear. Like, it just hasn't gelled yet. It'll take new time with Ben Hunt as his new 5'8". But look, just put him on. Like, don't ignore his first few games. He's going to have a good season for sure.
This is a 200K discount. I think it's 173, but nearly 200K discount. Yeah, it's absolutely insane. So you're getting a massive discount on this guy. I'm with you completely there. Like, he's a guy that people were looking at starting with round 1 when he was about 700K. So yeah, he's going to bounce back at some point. He was a target for me this week until the cheapies popped up and looked too good to ignore. So if Egan and Riley Smith hadn't popped up, I would be going to Reece Walsh and Kautonga this week.
Same.
I reckon, I reckon he kills in this game. And as much I'm captaining Haas, I would also get Walsh. I think the Broncos will just blast through the middle, and I think they're going to win on the edges. I think this is going to be a rough reality check for the Tigers.
I will say that with players like this, yes, his break-even is still high, but you want to be the coach that brought him in a week early for that big score than when everyone else gets him the week after in reaction to that. So if you get in Walsh this week and he scores 70, you're laughing, and then all the other coaches have to scramble to get him in next week. So it is tough with all the cashies available, but some people already have Kautonga. Some people already have, Tom Jenkins from last week. Some people might already have Riley stashed. So if you've got that second trade free, go get Walsh, or even a guy like Brimson. Similar situation. Like, the talent's there, the attacking opportunities are there, the team looks good.
We'll talk about Brimo. He's in the holds.
He's in the holds, yeah. So, just wanted to make that comparison. There are, fullbacks is one of those positions that you can time the bias, because fullbacks are prone to having big games and a couple of really bad games. And if you can time that, you're golden.
You want to buy them when they're cheap, not when they're already in form.
I want to use the comparison. I think not last year or the year before, Drinkwater was terrible to start the season.
Last year,
and then he had a total tearaway 10 rounds where he went from a 45 average to 55 average really quickly. No reason why Walsh couldn't do that.
Drinky was 500K, so he got down to this level. Garrick was as well. There are a few guys that jumped down to that price. We're going to talk about a few avoids here as well before we go through the pods, because the pods actually has some really fun options this week. But for avoids, I'm going to talk about these guys. Clifford is one I've been asked about a lot. Grabbed 2 tries in that game. I don't see him grabbing 2 tries consistently. Do I think he could average 50? Maybe. If everything goes right, then maybe he could average 50. But he's already priced at a 43. You're not getting 10 points of value. It's not guaranteed that he does that. He can easily score a 35 any given week. So for Clifford, I think it's a firm avoid. Preston has the bye next week. That's the only reason I have him on this avoid tree. And this Mirage Island, by the way, is going to be a permanent fixture for players we're too lazy to write notes about. But Nafahu White, he's one who's on here just because, again, he's priced in that low 40s area. Do you really think he averages in the low 50s? Because that's what he's going to be worth to trade into your team. And I just don't see that happening. Historically, when he plays 50 minutes, he's a 44 average. He played 50 minutes last week and it was down already. They've got guys coming back. I just don't see it for White. And Latrell's playing at center. Wait for him to get named at wing fullback. Hopefully he's named at center in round 7, which would mean he gets the center dual position. And then he becomes the most important player to buy in round 8 when Campbell Graham comes back.
Yeah, and I agree with all of that. I think with White, you've just missed the boat, sadly. Like me, I've missed the boat. What can you do?
Yeah.
And then Latrell, hopefully he loses a couple of 100K as a center, and then I'll pick him up as a wing fullback because I'd love to have him in my team.
Man, that'd be good. 700K-ish for Latrell. That'd be prime time. Now some pods. We love the pods. This is the fun bit. And look, I'm probably not getting it. Just the cheapies are too good this week. But if the cheapies weren't so good, I'd think about this very closely. And I know you're thinking about one of these guys. I'm going to jump straight down to him. So I know you want to talk about him. Thomas Cant. I'm impatient, Biz. What are you thinking with Thomas Cant?
I think, look, the last couple of years, these dumb buys that objectively look terrible on paper, like job security be damned, likely drop next week, whatever, it just keeps paying off. Look at Swalwong. Everyone's like, he's gonna be dropped next week. He's gonna go to the bench next week. He's gonna get moved to the middle next week. So they just find ways to hang on. And out of all the scoring profiles here, I think I'll get Thomas Cant 70 points based on 56 tackles and 170 meters last game. He looked unbelievable on the field. He's starting this week. Yes, Kai Pierce-Paul is back next week. I'll get to that. I'm trying not to think about that. But he played one game at in New South Wales Cup this year. That was at lock, so he can play in the middle as well. And that was also like a 40 tackle, 180 meter game. So like 58 in base stats. Like this guy is a workaholic. Not only does he run for a lot of meters, he tackles a lot. Break even of 13. I'll back him in for 80 minutes and 60 plus this week, or close to 60. He's making you 50 odd K. So in a way, he's a cashy himself. Like he'll make more money this week than the 4 cashies we mentioned, most likely. And the thing with Kent is he's going to be like 560K next week, whatever. A lot harder to buy. The worst case for me is, in my head, I'm seeing this as pocket the 55, 60, 65, hopefully 70. And if he gets benched or dropped next week, okay, you've hurt yourself a trade, whatever. You can just go down to one of these cashies. Like Kaltonga, Jenkins, Egan, maybe they'll make 30, 40, 50K. He's also going to make 30, 40, 50K. So you haven't really lost anything except the trade. And so you're thinking, Biz, like as if you'd throw away a trade like that. This is a guy like who could average 60. He could keep that spot for until Lucas is back. Like, I don't know how high the Knights are on Adam Elliott. Like, could it be Friz is at lock? And or even if he doesn't get, if he doesn't stay edge, like if he gets 40 minutes in the middle, like off the bench, I still think he scores like 40 odd points. Like his PPM is 0.99 in his limited first grade games. What I'm going to do is I'm kind of look through the Knights forums. I'm going to look through like the press releases. I want to see how highly they rate this guy. And I think he's part of their future, especially as they're building to next year with the big Dylan Brown signing, Fletcher Sharp now at 6. I think I'll honestly do it because worst case, I burn a trade. I still like he's not going to lose money. He'll make as much money as the cashies. And if he gives me a big 60 this week, like the same logic as you, like sometimes these dump trades to chase ranks, they do work, and they've been working more and more in the last couple of years. Like same thing for me, like 12K into 4K this week. Just want to keep making those jumps. I think Thomas Kent will be a big component of that. So I think he's in my team this week, pending how I feel about him in the next 24 hours.
They've got the Dogs this week. Big grindy matchup. Sunday night. Sunday night has had some very big performances for fantasy as well. So yeah, I don't hate this idea at all. It's this week or never though. Like you can't be a little chicken, sit on the fence and do it next week. It's just too late. I will shout out Dylan Lucas is out for another 4 weeks. So best case scenario, it's a 4-week window. You have him as a starter. I asked the Knighted what he thought in a comment, and he mentioned that he thought Camp would go to lock once the guys come back.
Mm-hmm.
That would mean Frizzell to the bench, I assume. Or I guess even, when Frizzell stays on the edge before Lucas comes back, he'd play lock over Adam Elliott. Adam Elliott's been playing good footy recently, but yeah, it's a tough one. It's a gamble with massive upside. You're backing the talent more in the scoring profile than the actual on-field talent. I don't hate the pick. I like this better than Nafahu White. Like if someone was like, should I buy Cant or White? I would buy Cant. So yeah, I don't mind that.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it, Longy. I'm doing it. Someone's got to take a stance. Yeah, got to do it for the content. I'm a content creator now, apparently. I'm an influencer. No, I'm not. But look, I'm doing it. I'm doing Thomas Kent.
You're gonna film a reel for Instagram, film a vertical.
I'm gonna if he scores 65 or something this week, you'll hear about it from me next week. And if he gets named at second row again, I'll do this pod with my top off. No, I'm not doing that. But
and then everyone else will be talking about it next week after you. Yeah. Well, he's in the pods list here. Cam McInnes is another one that's interesting. So we don't know the role with him. He played like 75 minutes, scored 74 points last week. We know who McInnes is. He's a guy who, when he gets minutes, he gets points. Why did he score so well last week? Why did he get so many minutes? Fanua Blake played tons of minutes in that game too. They got beat up pretty bad by the Dogs, who were massively under strength. So I think Cronulla are panicking a little bit, and I think they're going to lean on their big guns in the future. Now, with McInnes, I can't in any good conscience recommend buying him this week because he could easily go back to that sort of 55, 60-minute role and score 55 to 60 points. But man, at 717K, if he does play 75 minutes again, makes it to cash, he'll be close to the top of the buy list for next week.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because again, the worst case scenario is like you just get what you pay for. But like, I just think there's better options this week. Like, he's not going to make hundreds of Ks. He's not going to be like huge. Like he could. He's got one of the best scoring profiles in
Mm.
fantasy. He just needs the minutes. Like he could also play 80 minutes. Like I don't know why. Like that, he's fit enough to play 80. So I guess they just don't need him to play 80. But every time they're kind of falling behind and they need their guy on the field, I think Cam McKenna stays on the field.
Yeah, could be an option you take a specky on. I saw a few people sold him last week too. I feel terrible for them because you just missed out on the 75-point game. Now Lindsay Smith's another one here, pumped out a 70 last week, 56.5 average for him so far, 663K. So there's a bit of value in that. You could make a case that he's a low tier keeper with that mid 50s average, but does he maintain that is the big question. My concern here is that we've seen Liam Henry come into the year with injury, not play as many minutes as we expect, and actually go down in price with Fisher Harris leaving, which was surprising to me. And then we've seen Papali'i play a bit on the edge, play that random 20-minute game. Like he hasn't really gelled in with his Penrith team either. So Lindsay Smith is sort of a solid consistent there next to Isaiah Yeo. I think as these other guys rise up, Lindsay Smith could drop down to sort of those mid 40s scores. So he's not the option for me, but tell you what, he's a pod that a few people are very happy about, and you probably couldn't go too far wrong with it. 63K.
No, I think this is the big. Like, he's already broken out, but this is his big breakout as a big minute starter. And we saw with guys like Jolliffe last year, and other guys like Lindsay Smith is just taking his game to another level. Like they can barely get him off the field because every time he's on the field, he's just so good. So like it's kind of that natural progression of a guy who's just getting better and better. Who's now, I would say, one of the elite, close to the elite front rows of the game. I'm not saying tier one, but like very close to it, like the way he's playing this year. And Panthers are losing and they need him on the field. So he's not a bad pot option at all.
He's a big one. He's a big one. Now, Fletcher Sharp. Do you have any interest in this guy?
I think the boat sailed, but in the pre-recording lobby, the comparison you made had me thinking, I wish I thought about that in preseason. I think he's been a beast, but I think, look, with all these kind of guys who are losing money at wing fullback, that could be very strong. I probably take them. I think the Dogs do have a tough run of fixtures next 3 as well. So skip him, but very interesting one.
Yeah, he's part of that Knights equation that didn't really get a lot of attention preseason. I'll just give credit too, because I was talking in a live video about what's the comparison for him. Maybe Dylan Brown, 2022, kicking 5'8", so non-kicking 5'8", who averaged about 55 points. Maybe prime Cam Munster potentially, but those guys were playing near Dally M level footy, so it's a big requirement to have. Matt 04108. 4 hours ago commented that sharp stat comparison is Joey Manu playing at 6, who averaged 58 points. I think that's one of the best comments I've received this year. Like that was totally on point. Joey Manu and Fletcher Sharp scoring profile is very similar. Very different players though. Joey Manu's a big bruising ball runner who does strange things to score tries. Fletcher Sharp's more of a speed guy who runs support and just throws himself at the line. Almost runs a bit like prime Ryan Pappenhausen in a way. Where he's just very hard to put down. 644K though, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, and I just don't see him being anywhere near. I mean, Jaden Campbell's more expensive than he is, so it's probably hard to compare them. It's about 100K difference, but I don't know. It's a pod you could take a gamble on. It's just he has to maintain such a high quality of play to maintain these scores. And if he has one quiet game, he drops down to like a 25-point game, and you're sort of in the creek there a bit. So I just think it's a very risky option. And I don't think he has the upside to jump past like 800K. Like he would have to play such good footy to sort of rise up 150K, like generationally Nico Hines level footy. And I just don't see it happening. So I think he's more risk than reward.
I will say though that he's kind of humming along, scoring really well. I don't think the Knights have actually clicked on with the ball yet. Like he
looks good, mate. Like
he looks really good, but like the
good.
Knights themselves haven't. But like Sharp, he's scoring tries, he's making assists. He does look really good. So I think he can average 50 plus, but probably low 50s for me because he is going to have those games where he scores like 15 to 25 points, and it'll kind of kill the money making, slaughter his average. So I think if you started the season with him, like great stuff, but I wouldn't do it myself now.
Bit too late. And then Papali'i, 1 week. Sorensen out. He had the same score as Cleary the week before. HIA, 7 minutes in, scored 5 points. Sorensen's gone. Papali'i's in for 1 week. Now, I think Papali'i is a better back rower than Scott Sorensen. So in some equations, or in some teams, I'd be thinking, all right, you know what? He gets 1 week. He'll show it against the Cowboys. He'll earn that spot and he'll keep it. Penrith don't work like that, though. They generally tend to back the guy who's owned the spot for a long time, and Sorensen has owned that spot for a long time. So if I thought there was a chance that Papali'i could play himself into a permanent starting spot, I'd jump on at 574K, but I just don't think that's going to happen. So as much as I think Papali'i scores 70 plus this week, I can't bring myself to make this buy.
I will say, though, on the flip side, Penrith have stuck strong to their starting guys. They have won the last 4 seasons straight. So it's a lot easier to stick to a team when you're winning. They're 1-3 this year, and they need to change it. If Papali'i has a game breaker this week and he really drives a win, then he could keep that spot. But I think you can watch this week and wait for next week before you decide. Oh, like the other thing is Sorensen is pretty injury prone. Like he's constantly copping knocks here and there and missing games. So I think I'd take Papali'i, but I'd happy to wait this week. I think like a couple of the other guys who are now or never, like Thomas Cant, they're kind of more interesting to me.
Thing is, we might get Fafita starting next week as well.
Yeah, true.
There's going to be a few options there, but yeah, Big Papa's a guy I want to get in my team this year, and I don't want to be late getting on him. Now, holds. This is going to be controversial. And we're going to go through these guys. Cam Munster's the first one. So we're talking about all these guys who have just sort of, fluked up big scores, and they're just sort of random options. Cam Munster's a guy who hasn't had a line break this year, and sort of hasn't had that breakout game. Like he had a great first half against Parramatta, then sort of cooled off. Didn't get that try where Pappenhausen didn't pass it on the inside. He had that game last week where he did that kick across field for Katoa, who dropped the ball over the line. Like Munster's been one of those guys who has had a lot of close calls with attacking stats that just haven't come through. And when you look at him, he's averaging the low 40s. If you add a few of those on, it becomes a 45 average. Kind of what you paid for him. It's still not great, but I don't know. I just look at him and think, Jerome Hughes is on the extended bench, unlikely to return this week. Cam Munster in this game should be good. Like I'm expecting him to sort of step up because their attack was pretty bad last week. It's dry conditions. I think he's a surefire hold, and you give yourself one last shot with Cam Munster and see what he can produce.
Yeah, I don't even think Cam Munster's a hold. I think he's almost a buyer. Like at this price, I'm a buyer. Like if it comes a price, if it comes a time he's still at this price over the next few weeks, I'm buying him. Like same with like guys like Harry Grant, etc. Like I just think that their upside versus like a small average of games this year is way too high. Cam Munster's only 30, right? He still looks really good on the field. Like he's had a lot of assists. He just hasn't bust open the game with his like running game yet. So that's going to come. And I kind of talked about this in the preseason when we did a ton of the Munster versus Luai comparisons. It's funny because one of the comments was Munster versus Luai. The winner was actually Jamie Humphries. But look, Munster, as I said, like you kind of wait, let him shake out a bit. He isn't kicking the ball recently. He's still at that kind of starting price. Like I still think he will average 50 plus. Like the scoring profile, the team he's in, the attacking weapons he's got around it, way too good. Doesn't kick the ball much anymore. He's never been a huge kick meter guy himself. So I really like Munster, and I like the next guy as buys as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's got Manly this week too. No turbo, but they can attack. So both teams are going to be throwing it at each other. He's going to have to step up. AJ Brimson, I'll let you speak on him at 441K. Big discount.
Huge discount. 2 tries last week for 49. Just hasn't clicked for him yet. Like he does average 47 or something at 6 last time he played a season there. I really like AJ Brimson. It's only a matter of time. He is the type of half available at fullback, but he's the type of half that will have some low games, but he'll still have these big games to shake out, right? Like he'll shake out to a 45 average, and I think he'll get there. And he's priced so low this week. He's got a great matchup. He's got the Dolphins this week, if I remember correctly. I think he'll tear them apart. Look, I would love to be a buyer. In fact, there's a world where I'm kind of trading in Thomas Cant and AJ Brimson, and just saying, okay, these guys will make me cash in the long run just as much as these cashies, and they'll score me a ton of points too. Like, will I do it? I don't know. I don't think so, but I'm considering it. And like Brimson could easily get to 600, 650K in my eyes. Like, look how good the Titans are attacking. It'll click eventually. So if I don't buy him again, it's like the Reece Walsh, the Cam Munster situation. They're like at the top of my watch list for the next few weeks.
I'm with you there completely. Big dog, nothing to add, but yeah, Brimson's on my watch list as well. Rob Toyer, he's one who people are a bit concerned about this week, coming into a game where he's matching up against Latrell Mitchell. Does that worry you at all?
No, Toya scored 60 when they lost by 50. So, like, I'm not too worried about the matchups. Like, Toya's a guy, if you give him the ball, good space, like, he'll be fine. Latrell is also can be a bit of a, like, lazy defender at times. So, except at Origin where he just becomes, like, prime Latrell. But, like, Trell hasn't played. Game fitness isn't great. Toya's speedy guy with a lot of footwork. Trell is going to make Toya miss a lot of tackles, no doubt. But I think Toya also can return serve with a few big plays. And Roosters versus Rabbits, like, it's always like a really, really good contest. Like, they always aim up. I think Toya will have a good game. And I think even so, like, he's a guy that I could keep, like, till after the Origin period if he doesn't get dropped. Like, Roosters have the most friendly Origin schedule, bye schedule if you don't play Origin. And Toya's not going to play Origin. So I'd be keeping. Like, he's scoring well.
Agree. And starting. That's the big thing for me here. He's definitely a starter for me. I will say too, this new rule that's come in where they're sin binning guys for dangerous tackles, so high tackles. They're basically, I don't know if you heard this, instant sin bin.
Yeah.
For that high contact.
That's crazy.
Latrell Mitchell is the person they made that rule for. So they saw he was coming back and they made that rule, especially with this game against the Rabbitohs, or Roosters Rabbitohs.
Yeah,
so
if it wasn't for Latrell, it was for Tane Milne if he was still around.
If he was around. But there's still, I just reckon there's a good chance that he gets sin binned, maybe even sent off. Like, I'm not saying it's likely, but if you get sin binned, then that's a 10-minute period where they're going to feed Robert Toyer ball against the South Sydney side that hasn't really been able to tackle so far this year. So, I think Toyer has upside. If I was predicting his score, I'd still say sort of in the mid-30s. Like, I don't think he's going to break out, but he has the potential to break out in this game, and it's impossible to predict as we've seen so far. So, red hot option. Start him every week. He's locked into my starting side. Then Jackson Purdue. Funnily enough, Purdue 319K, Toyer 394K. You wouldn't think they were so close in price. Like, you know what I mean? It feels a bit close. I mean, and Purdue has just gone, you know what? Bang, bang. 50 points, 36 points, cash generation. He's a guy you got to hold. Like, people are talking about selling him right now. I think you have to hold him. He's going to make as much cash as most options over the next couple of weeks. Stick with him until the wheels fall off, and then you sell him at the time where his break even gets a bit too high.
Yeah, 100%. And it kind of does go to show that, like, even with the 4 cashies we had on our list, like, cashies are hot and cold. Like, the first 2 weeks, if you looked at Purdue, you're thinking this was a total deadbeat purchase. Going to be 250K languisher at the bottom of my squad. Like, just get rid of him so I can red dot him. But, like, it just shows that cashies, like, on the flip side, they could have one hot game and go trash after as well. So you never know. Like, you might end up buying a guy like Tom Jenkins, and he ends up exactly like a Jackson Purdue. So it just goes to show that with cashies, you never know. Jackson Purdue, thank God, like, he's making money now. Hold him until he's done. He might have another, like, he's kind of finding his own now. He's slowly improving. Cowboys are slowly improving. So I would be holding him for sure, and hopefully he gets to 400, 450K.
So he was at, I actually have a look at this now. He was at 245K after round 1. Toyer was at plus 50. He was about 280K. So there was 40K difference. So if you traded Purdue for Toyer, you've made an additional 35K for that one trade. So Purdue to Toyer was actually a bad trade in retrospect.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, for sure. Like, that's why I'm like, I need to really think about these 4 cashies. Like, is it sideways to go like Iongi to Jenkins, for example? A lot of people are talking Iongi to Jenkins. Like, they're both like Iongi has better cup stats, in a better position for scoring. The only problem is he's in a terrible team, but Iongi's kind of improving. So, like, you got to think about these things. Like, there's no right answer. You got to kind of, like, just think about it and think statistically which way makes more sense.
What can you do with the cash? That's a big one. Because I did it last week, but Jenkins was 250. last week.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it was a bit
exactly.
different. Freed up about 100K and allowed me to go Mazu to Isaiah Yo. So
Yeah.
that's different. But if you're not using the cash for anything, then there's no point doing it. Jalen DeGroot, he follows along this conversation, and Jalen DeGroot is a real tester of this theory. Now, we've just said don't waste your trade sort of moving around these cash cows. I put him at the bottom of this list very intentionally because if I had DeGroot, I mean, I was never getting DeGroot. That's the thing. It's a hard one. But I personally, if I somehow got stuck with him via some error or something like that, I might sell him this week. I just like his cup stats were so bad. He's like a low 20s average in Queensland reserve grade. So I don't know. There's some other options that are a bit hotter. Like I still think it's probably a waste of trade. And if you've bought him, you've bought into a narrative. You probably have to ride that wave. But at the same time, I kind of get why someone would sell him.
I mean, if you bought him, hopefully you knew like his cup stats were terrible, like work rate is low. Potential for a big plays there though. Like this Titans team can pull off big plays, and he's apparently like the second fastest guy in the league. Like he clocked the second fastest time in NRL last year behind Saab. So he's a speedster. So if he gets onto like an 80-minute break, like he'll score like 20 points right there, and hopefully 5 more points for the rest of the game. But I'm not trading him at 289. Like he has just as much upside as all the guys we mentioned, as much as Jenkins, as much as sorry, he's got less upside than Jenkins, Kartonga, and all these guys, but on the flip side, like his job security is hopefully better, and like you save a trade. So I personally would just be holding DeGroot. Like you should hopefully have known what he's going to look like from a stats perspective.
Yeah, we shared that too. So if you aren't in Discord, I shared a comparison between him, Kautonga, and Jenkins like 85 times. So no excuses. I think I shared it to Instagram as well. So
You did,
it was
I saw it
everywhere.
on Instagram. It was everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was all there. Now, sell options, these guys are pretty straightforward. Kale Iro. So Iro's been awesome this year. He's a fantastic football player. About a year into his NRL career, really breaking out this year. Hamstring injury. We don't know the severity yet. It'll come through, but regardless of what it is, if it's sort of 3+ weeks, I think he's a firm sell. If you don't know for sure, I still think he's a firm sell. Very similar to Dylan Lucas earlier in the year when we sold him straight away. Came out of his 6 weeks. I just think you got to move Euro at this point. Like at that price, you can't afford to hold that much cash on the bench. And if you're a fan of having a big gun, center in your team, go for a Herbie Farmworth. Like just move him straight to Herbie, and it's not going to cost you much money. You got Herbie up against the Titans, who can leak some points on the edge. Herbie's going to outclass them. So yeah, I think you got to move off Euro at this point. He's very expensive and now carrying a recurring injury as well.
Yeah, I have not much to add there. I think, like, look, the hamstrings are the one injury you don't want to play with. Tom Gilbert, on the flip side, missing game through suspension. Now, you're going to sell. I mean, yeah, I get it. Like, he had 11 missed tackles last week, but I will say, though, that he's played 80 minutes on the edge for 2 weeks straight now. Historically, if you look at his stats playing 80 minutes on the edge, he averages 50 plus. And he's getting 80 minutes. He's not going to miss 11 tackles every week.
Yep.
I think owners are definitely going to be really annoyed with his last game, but he's still kind of scoring above what he's priced at. If he wasn't, he would definitely be a firm hold, in my opinion, if he wasn't suspended. But he's a guy that I'm still buying at this price because I think he's going to get better as the season goes on. Like, remember, he's missed a year. He looks to get involved. His, like, attacking stats aren't great. Like, he does look a bit like I don't want to say soft because this guy would break me in half, but like he doesn't look like he doesn't run great lines. He doesn't look like he's going to bust tackles. He's just more of a worker. So in terms of the attacking upside, like his scoring upside really comes from 45 tackles, like 100 meters, and not missing many tackles. So look, I wouldn't be in a rush to sell him, but I can see why you'd have him here.
Can I counter it? Because I'm a Gilbert owner and I had him from the start, right? I said to people, don't go and buy him at this point. A lot of people talk about Safer to Gilbert. It was one that we turned down quite a bit. But Gilbert, historical numbers, so 60+ minutes playing second row in first grade. Average is 47.6 in 72 minutes. That's roughly what his average is in the lock spot as well. It's about 47 in 58 minutes. So I'm not that excited about that. Like the historical averages here are, a couple of tries in there. I don't know if he's going to score a couple of tries this year.
I mean, he did have a line break last week. So
okay, yeah. 33 tackles, 3 missed tackles a game. So you sort of knock off some points there. Like 1 tackle bust a game, 0.3 offloads, 136 run meters is quite a bit higher. And I will shout out one thing: he hasn't cleared 100 meters once this year. In his historical numbers, he cleared 100 meters in 9 of 10 games. So the run meters might come. I get everything you're saying here, but I just think this year things are moving too fast. Fantasy is too hot to be sort of fluffing around with guys like Gilbert who just aren't doing the job, right? I think with someone like Gilbert, you could make a case that he's going to bounce back. And best case scenario, he comes back and he averages 47.6 and he's priced at 42. So you get your 5 points of value. I just think it's moving too fast to delay, though. I think you have to get on some of these other guys. And I look at my team, I don't have anyone to sell. Like I've got Duffy sitting there who I've just sort of held on to just in case. But Duffy, and then I'm looking at it and I go, all right, there's no one else to sell. I want to get some of these cheapies. I'll move Gilbert. I'll save 300K. And if Dave Fafita gets named next week, which I just have a feeling he will, then I can go Sandon Smith to Dave Fafita. And I'm a lot happier next week with Dave Fafita in my team than I am with Tom Gilbert or, someone else in that mold as well. So I'm of the view that it's a firm sell, but my mentality this year is just be super aggressive because we've made heaps of cash from cash cows. We've got a really easy origin schedule. Fantasy's made the rules easier as well. Use your trades. Go hard. Grab points when you can. Move up the ranks when you can. Like, be aggressive this year is my whole mentality.
Yeah, look, honestly, it makes a lot of sense. I just think that look, if he's playing the 80 minutes, he could have his upside is maybe 52 versus 47. But look, I don't disagree with what I said. Like, I 100% agree. Like, if you have no other sell options, like, I'm be selling Gilbert. But to be honest, that is actually a likely situation this year because so many players are doing pretty well and making money. So you might not have obvious sellouts. And if you've got Gilbert and everyone else is low break evens, then feel comfortable in selling Gilbert.
Yeah, because these are low ownership guys that we're talking about here. There aren't many. Gilbert's the high ownership guy in Yongi.
Yeah.
But there really aren't that many options to sell. So, yeah, good shout. Because otherwise, I guess I'll throw one other thing in here, right? If someone was talking to you and they said, "Hey, I want to sell one of these 2 guys for a cheapie, either Sandon Smith or Tom Gilbert," where would you steer them?
Probably Gilbert. Sandon Smith's got a tough next 3. I think he's got Rabbits, Panthers, and Broncos or something.
Yep. So what you would say, keep Gilbert?
I would, yeah. So I would keep Gilbert, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay. See, I'd keep Sandon, keep the money going, and have him ready to sell when the time is right.
Yeah.
But yeah, fair shout. Difference of approaches. That's why you got both. That's why we're both on the show, man. Different views, and sometimes it goes your way, sometimes mine.
Yeah.
Mitch Barnett, 635K. I'm just going to throw it out there. Dylan Walker left the club. A lot of people were interested in the idea that maybe Mitch Barnett would be a buy. I sort of said, wait and see what happens there. He came out, he played sub 50 minutes, which is absolutely shocking to me. I can't believe he did, especially considering Halasima played in the back line as well. Like, it was a game that was made for Mitch Barnett to play minutes. They conceded 24 points to the Tigers. It was very sloppy and wet. I don't know why he's not playing more minutes, but it looks like it's going to stay that way. So got to sell him.
Yeah, not much more to add other than I'm very confused.
It's very strange. Look, I took Barnett, so I'll throw Yongi to you. We're both Para fans, so we believe he'll be the next Jesus. But until then, is he going to score any fantasy points for us or what?
Yongi's a really interesting one to me because, he looks all right. Like, he's making some mistakes, but he's getting involved. He's running the ball well. I thought he played really well with the ball in hand last week in terms of running the ball. The playmaking hasn't come yet. There was one, towards late in the game, there was a try that was called back for a forward pass that would have added 7 points to his tally, taking him into the mid-30s. 37 average in Cup. Eels, they're not really getting better, but they're not getting any worse. I guess it's hard to get worse than a 60-point driving week 1.
Moses back soon, hopefully.
Moses back, hopefully, in 2-3 more weeks. My view is, if I'm trading Yongi to a Jenkins or a Kautonga, I'm not saying don't do it, but think hard about it because you're burning a trade for guys who could end up pretty much near the same. And it just takes one try to bust open a score. Like we saw in the preseason, Yongi scored 57 in like 45 minutes with the try against the Tigers and a barnstorming try off the scrum. Like I know that's preseason, but it's in him. Like he's a strong runner of the ball. He made 170 meters last week. Eels defensively are kind of getting grittier. Look, I am like kind of thinking Iongi to Jenkins or Iongi to Katonga, but I'm also thinking holding. You're a seller, I know, but me personally, I think that for 50K, like I'd rather keep the trade to similar cash profile. But the flip side is Parramatta looks garbage. But you're just kind of hoping that when Moses comes back, it's totally different.
Yeah, no, everything you've said is logical, man. So with him, only sell him if you can use the money. Like it's definitely not worth a trade by itself just to go to him from him to one of the other cash cows. But what's worth the trade is if you do that, it frees up cash that you can use to make an upgrade that's meaningful this week. So I wouldn't do it just for the sake of it. But at the same time, I really do feel like Jenkins is just going to have, and this is why I was so keen on him last week. I just feel like he's going to have one of those hot runs. Like he started the year hot in cup, like you said. He's been rushed back in. They gave him the fullback role, played tough footy there. Like I think he really impressed Ivan Cleary in that game. I just feel like he's feeling like he's on top. So I think Cleary comes back and he's going to have a big game this week. I wouldn't be shocked at all if there's 30 points between them again.
Yeah,
that's
no,
the thing, right? You make
that's
that
the
trade,
thing. Yeah,
30 points. You make a bit
yeah.
more cash. Like, so to me, it's worth doing on the vibes. But if we were talking pure math and pure logic, it's not worth a trade. But I just vibe-wise think it is.
I'm probably leaning towards doing the Yongi to Jenkins trade just because I think Jenkins could make maybe 150K over the next 3-4 weeks, and Yongi will be like a slower burn long term. And like in my thought process, that if you just ride Jenkins for 4 weeks, right? If you're lucky, you get 150K. Yongi's still kind of in the mid 300s mark. And Moses comes back, you could then cash Jenkins out to Yongi. I don't know, maybe. So I think I will do it. Like the cash thing isn't huge for me. I already have like 180K bank from last week since I ended up with Wong instead of Couchman, which looks like a great move. I think I'm going to use that money to get Kent for like a Sandon Smith say. And
you could go Yongi straight to Walsh.
Yeah, I don't think I have. Yeah, but then I think I'd prefer to have Kant and Jenkins than Walsh and someone else. Like I really like want that pod of Thomas Kant.
Kant. All right,
and I've already committed. I've committed to it on the show now. I can't back out unless he's hurt or benched. So if he's starting, I've got to commit to it.
All right, Thomas Kent's your boy. Yongi's going to have to go. Last one here, Jerome Luai, and I want to talk about this one a bit. He has a bit of a shoulder issue they're looking at. He's out a week suspended. He's just not running the ball either. I think he had like 14 run meters in that last game. His finish score at the end of the game was 13 points. Sorry, 14 points, and he updated to 23. Now, he is losing cash hand over fist. It's 86K so far that he's dropped. Luai is a guy who, look, he's a sell if you have him right now. But I'll tell you what, he's on my watch list because when he bottoms out at, 450K, 420K, something like that, I'll be watching for signs of life. And the moment he runs the ball for over 100 meters, he's in my team.
Yeah, at 450K, I'm buy. The thing with Luai is just like the kind of, and like I was big on Galvin on the preseason. That hasn't really panned out, but the logic that everyone was kind of, Jerome Luai will come in and take like 600 kick meters and Galvin will get nothing. Like it didn't make sense to me because Galvin is not like a Jack Cole. Like Galvin is like a dominant half in his own right. And like they're just splitting down the middle and it's not great for either of them. So look, Luai, I think if he loses another 50 to 100K, like absolutely you're buying. But for now with the injury and the form, I'd be selling. Similar, honestly, I'll use the same logic as you with Gilbert. Like fantasy this year is too many people, too fast paced, too many good scores, too much cash being made to hold a guy like Luai.
How many weeks would Luai have to be out for you to look at Latu Finu? Because 33 minutes, 29 points. Had a really nice try last week. Just played in the middle. So he came into the team after Adam Dewey was pulled out in the warm-up.
Yeah. He'll need to play 4 more games.
4 weeks?
To be worth it. 4 weeks,
260K? It's a good price.
Yeah. If he could play 4 games, I'd look at Latu Finu, yeah.
All right, Latu Finu it is. There you go, guys. That is us done and dusted for buy, hold, sell. The big piece of advice from me is just look at the value. Don't be afraid of carrying a bit of cash this week. So I'm going to be carrying cash. I'm targeting those cash cows we talked about. Big ones there to recap. Jenkins is up there, Riley Smith, Kidione Kautonga, and Dylan Egan. There's some red hot options. And if Jerome Luai is out for an extended period of time, then Latu Fine is one we'll talk about as well. Any last words for you, Biz?
Thomas can't train. Let's go, baby. 70 plus this week.
We've got different mentalities this week. I'm so excited to jump on next week. And because I agree with you. I think he's going to pop off. So you can run some victory laps then.
Yeah, well, it depends where he's named next week. But yeah, let's go. I mean, I made the ballsy call with Wong last week, and he's holding his spot, and he's looking good. I'm just going to hope the run keeps going.
He's a brave fantasy player. Also, watch out for Pierre Kura because he might be on the buy list next week too. Yeah. Cheers, guys. We'll see you on the next one.